Hello Redditors, welcome back to Tales Against Humanity. Now, let's get started. In today's episode,
Can you stop the hurricane? Howdy folks. Backwoods Tech back again. I just want to say that no matter what industry that I've done IT in, education, state government, federal government, or finance, that some people seem to treat their jobs as more important than their very lives. I'm sure you know the types. They are the ones that would live in the office if it wasn't for the fact that it was banned. They have an unhealthy dedication to their job, even in the face of extreme danger to health or life. On this afternoon, a couple of years ago, I get a call on the emergency tech line. It is only activated during times of extreme emergency, such as natural disasters, and is open and dedicated to us helping the financial advisors and their staff try to prevent damage ahead of time or to help recover from damage after. In this case, the line was activated a few days before a major hurricane was ready to go up the East Coast. I had been dedicated for those days in helping offices in the potential affected path/cone with verifying their business continuity plans, how to properly store equipment to help reduce the chances of it being damaged, etc. Normally, the financial advisors are pretty good about being prepared ahead of time. Normally, let us move a few days down the line. I get a call from an office early in the day. They are within eyesight of the shore. The user I am talking to is cursing their coworkers for being cowards and saying if it wasn't for the forced evacuation orders by that state's governor, they would have already fired everyone for dereliction of duty. This is not my first rodeo with people in the finance industry who have no sense of propriety or safety of others, much less themselves. Just prior that year, I had dealt with an office that was mad they couldn't conduct business after a wildfire had burned down all the cell towers in their area. Anyway, back to this mad lad who had finally calmed down enough to get to the point of the call. User, I thought the NWS, National Weather Service, was pranking us about the hurricane. I then wake up this morning to forced evacuations because it is supposed to hit at high tide and have us under 15-20 feet of water here at the office. I came in to try and save my equipment. Me, why are you still there? The hurricane is about 4-5 hours offshore, you can still get to safe ground. User, I had to come in and grab my computers, and I'm calling to review my recovery plan. Me, call back after the hurricane is past, and you get phone/internet service back. Get yourself safe. User, can you stop the hurricane? Me, I wish I could. It'd save a lot of damage in your area. User, I'm serious. Can't you contact the government and tell them to steer it away from the coast with HARP? Me, just get yourself safe before it is too late to get out. As a follow-up, I later talked to this user. They were very much chagrined and hyper-apologetic for their idiocy. They did lose their business's physical location in the storm surge. Thankfully, in the past, they were apparently much more forward-thinking and had a wonderful insurance policy set up for just such an occasion and got a much better building/office out of it. Story 2. Yes, I lied to you because I can't be bothered to check. This happened many years back when a friend of mine had a problem with his computer. He needs it to be fixed ASAP, and the computer repair shop he goes to is not open, so he came to me for help. I tried to run him down the troubleshooting steps to see what the problem was. The troubleshooting didn't produce any results, so I concluded that the PSU, power supply unit, is probably fried. I met up with him to shop for a PSU and went back to his house. Just to be sure, I ran the same troubleshooting steps in case he did it wrongly. The first thing I did was to swap the power cable from the monitor to the PC. To my surprise, it actually turned on. I looked at my friend and asked him if he actually did any of the troubleshooting I told him to do. He looked at me sheepishly and said he actually didn't bothered. So my friend now has a shiny new PSU that he can't return due to store policy. Told him with a smile to be more careful next time, so he won't waste other people's time and his money. Story 3. One of my most satisfying solutions. I worked with supporting business phone systems. In this particular case, the customer system was hosted and everything was connected via the internet. This customer had made a reputation for themselves by calling in multiple times for issues that could not be duplicated. I had not had the pleasure before of speaking to them, but I sure enjoyed the results this time. On the day in question, I was working late and I chose to pick up the call. It was after hours for us, but I was on call anyway, so I decided to save some time in case it was an emergency. As it happened, it was an emergency, somewhat, in that the customer was saying all their phones were down, again, that they are very upset, again, and that they better get it fixed or else. I wasn't paying much attention to their rant, as I was instead logging into their hosted system to see what was wrong. I had just finished logging in when the customer started demanding a supervisor. I gently reminded them that I was the after-hours tech and the only person available, and that I could concentrate on the problem better if they gave me some time to investigate. Unfortunately, the system looked completely healthy and all phones were up. I asked the customer to confirm that the phones were working, and they said they didn't know as they were on the way to their bus. I asked how they knew it was down earlier, and they said when they called to check if it was working it went straight to voicemail instead of ringing first, which is how it worked every other time it failed. They had got into the habit of checking based on previous history. Somehow, with just this information, I had a good idea what the problem was. I asked the customer if their phones failed every day when they left the office, and they said it was most of the time. I asked if they had seen the same issue when coming into work, and the answer was yes. I asked if the phones ever failed during the day, and the answer was no. Solution: some idiot of a security alarm installer had installed their splitter jack, prioritizes alarm use for dial tone, on the internet ADSL line before the ADSL splitter. Insert username here. Every time the customer set or released their alarm, the alarm system killed the internet, hosted phones, to call in the status to the alarm company. Issue was resolved fully the next day. This was likely one of the most intuitive leaps of troubleshooting that I've ever made in 30+ years of service, and I still get that satisfying feeling thinking of it. Story 4. Printer with identity crises. Disclaimer: English is not my first language. We just swapped out a Konica Minolta printer for a Kyocera, and I did the usual stuff. Added it to the print server, added the newest driver from the manufacturer's website, added it to AD and pushed it to my users. Worked well with all our other printers. Did not work quite so good with this one. The users complained that some properties were missing. The device did not sort multiple copies and some other stuff. I tried to manually force the policy. I tried to manually trigger the installation. I tried to manually add the printer via IP address. I tried to manually install the darn thing with the manufacturer's driver installer. I cursed. I sacrificed a black cat at midnight on a full moon's night. I even read the manual. Nothing got the effing thing to do what it was supposed to do. Then I saw that the thing spoke PCL. In my despair, I forced the old my drivers onto the device. And lo and behold, it worked. We obviously have a confused Kyo that thinks it is a my. As long as it works, I don't care, but WTF,